How's it going, Mayhem family? Look, if you're part of the Mayhem community, you know we value squatting. The Bergners are trying to kill us with squats. It's true. Sage, we respect you for that. But check this out. I'm going to give you 3 things to work in this week that will help with, knee soreness, backing off, improving knee health, some subtle ones that maybe you're missing. Now, first thing we have is Diane Fu, and she set up the bar in the rack because the bars are in the rack a lot. And one of the things that we love to do at the end of class is just use whatever we have laying around. Kettlebells, barbells, dumbbells, a plate. It just makes it a lot easier to be able to get a dose and session right at the end of the class period without having to do a big setup or grab an extra equipment. So look what's going to happen. Diane's going to throw her leg up on there. And this is monkey bars of death. And what you may think to yourself is, should the monkey bars cause death? In this situation, they can. So look what's happening is Diane is able to get deep pressure. She can get really discrete pressure on that hamstring, and she can do it by extending the leg and leaning forward so she can tension it from both sides. Now, what I really like about this is, of course, she went right for her own personal business, but I want to take that down near the knee. So in this position, it's actually really hard for us to get the kinds of pressure we're after rolling on the ground. It just is difficult to kind of get this discrete, deep pressure. And if we look at both hamstrings, they're coming on both sides of the knee, right? On the inside, you've got the, say grace before T, sartorius, gracilis, semitendinosus. On the other side, you've got the rest of that hamstring piece. So Diane is able to get really close to the back of the knee and actually begin to address the insertion of the calves and as the hamstrings as they go south. So it's an easy way to kind of be able to get into some really discrete tissues. And even here, it starts to end up being a little bit of some of the adductor mass in here, especially since the big, powerful muscles are running down the inside of the leg. But a couple minutes of this when you're finishing, just move the racks down, bang this out at the end of a session when the bars are on the racks, really can go a long way to making your knees feel better. All right, number 2 is that we have a roller here. And one of the things that gets lost in this conversation a lot is looking at what's happening with the tissues above the knee and below the knee. So obviously quads are a big deal here, but we're trying to be subtle. But if we grab Diane's, this is her tibia, right? Her big shin bone here. And this is actually the insertion of her patella right onto this knee bone here. So quads come down, interrupted by the kneecap, inserts right here. And it turns out that if she's stiff through the anterior shin, stiff through the front shin here, then this can cause a tension and an overtension in this system. So one of the ways that we can free up and improve quad ligament pain, we call this quad ligament because it goes from bone to bone, even though typically people call it a tendon. This is classically the quad tendon, and this is the quad ligament. But if we end up feeding some slack to this shin here, we can often make this better. And the easiest way to do that is get on a roller in a flexed position where the toe is pointed in the back, and then she rolls from side to side. She's got the back foot up, and then she's just doing a little scrubbing. So some of this, don't just get sucked into we're going after muscles. We're trying to free up the sliding surfaces here. How can we improve how the whole system articulates? How can we unload some of the sort of passive tensionalities on the structures into that knee? And believe it or not, you should see your shin as a contiguous aspect of the knee system. So what we often see is that when people are having pain in here, when we mobilize downstream of that, we feed slack up into that. Some aspect of that changes. We're either changing the tension on the system, or decreasing blood flow, or increasing blood flow, moving tissues back, water back into the tissues. It doesn't matter what the mechanism is, it feels better. Right? And so the last one, though, since we've got the rollers out, is we're going to go after the adductors on the inside of the knee. So Diane's just going to get into a prone position and slip her knee right on here. And this can be done on a kettlebell handle too. But ultimately, we want to get all of the insertion of the tissues here. And the reason we're doing that is oftentimes we always think in kind of muscular systems because that's how we were trained. but it's the neighborhood. So if she's tacked down on one aspect of the neighborhood, it's going to influence the functionality of the rest of the system. So in this situation, by her getting some motion in here and even taking this all the way down almost to where the bony aspects of the knee are and work on that adductor, she's going to be addressing a lot of that stiffness, which can be causing a counter motion, the knee wobbling in at the bottom position, and ultimately stealing slack from the greater knee area. So again, you can't say your knee is cleared unless I can walk up and down your quads. You address the shins, calves, hamstrings, and in this situation, the adductors. And what we really should be able to handle is much larger loads in that system. But most of us end up being pretty sensitive down here. And you'll notice that she doesn't want to straighten the leg all the way because that is the worst. So see if you can get 2 or 3 minutes each one of these positions at least once during this week and see if it doesn't make you feel better.